Welcome everyone. Glad to see you on my channel. Today I will tell you about an unusual story, an amazing story about companionship and love. I wish you a pleasant audience.
This story is probably for those who do not believe in the law of boomerang and that at any age you can find your true love. It's all my fault I started it all. If nothing had happened that night, Carlo would be at home instead of at her place. The lines flowed easily and effortlessly. This is the kind of day that makes you want to put your negativity on paper. It was exactly what the marriage counselor had advised them to do. Sophia was half lying on the bed. Rocky purred dully at her feet. The woman was all alone. It seemed like the family was coming apart at the seams. How? How can one forgive cheating if there is no true love? What was there to fight for? Jack? A child doesn't need a tortured mother who isn't loved by her husband. Carlo wouldn't even listen. The words of infidelity turned him into a beast. He was scared. It's all your fault. Again, I'm so sick of trying to save our marriage all the time. Our son would be better off if we just split up. Parried the man. Yes, Sophia replied helplessly, it's all my fault. For marrying you, for giving birth to your child, and that you've been leading me around your finger all these 5 years. Yes, it's all my fault. If I hadn't fallen for your unfortunate hook that night, none of this would have happened. You would have met another victim and tortured her like you did me. Carlo first opened his mouth and tried to squeeze out another tirade dedicated to his undesirable wife, but changed his mind and quietly squeezed out, "That's how I met." Sophia raised her eyebrows up and rounded her mouth in a mute question, but there was nothing to discuss. It was for the best. Now he'll be out of the house. The walls of the apartment will be silent. How she loved that silence without him. Carlo grabbed his jacket and hat and flew out the door. That's it. I'd had enough of this. Time to get the hell out of here. The woman finished writing and closed the diary. This thick book kept a lot of experiences and memories, thoughts. Now Sophia had to dedicate one more page to her hubby. The woman sighed, stretched blissfully on the bed and dozed off. But then she was awakened by a phone call. Selena and Sophia were best friends. They were in the same department. The 4th year was hard. Sophia planned to get a place in the master's program and further work as a graduate student at the university. The girls successfully passed exams and credits, defended their diplomas. All that remained was to wait for the call from the dean's office. The weather was hot and stuffy. There was absolutely nothing to do in the big, overloaded with transportation and people in the city. Selena planned to go to her parents in Chicago for the summer vacation. "Come with me. Take a break from your worries." "Had you ever been to the sea?" Selena asked Sophia. She thought about it and agreed. Indeed, the girl since childhood dreamed of looking at the azure waves and colorful sunsets. Therefore, not long hesitating, she agreed. Moreover, a complicated relationship with a former man older than her by 10 years left its imprint on the mental state of the girl. She wanted to forget everything and start her life from scratch. "It's coming, friend," joyfully exclaimed Sophia. "When to pack the suitcases?" Selena loved it when a girl was in a good mood. She looked at Sophia carefully and said, "Yes, even today. We'll buy tickets at the train station tonight. There is nothing to do until the dean's office decides our fate. We should enjoy life and get high. I'll just call my mother and make her happy. She loves visitors." Selena took her cell phone and went out into the corridor. Sophia fell on the bed with relief, put her hands behind her head and thought, "Another dream of mine will soon come true. I will be sunbathing on a warm beach and catching small salty drops of surf." The girls bought tickets for the morning train and packed their travel bags. Selena, a party person, suggested celebrating their successful departure and going to a club. "We can sleep on the train, girlfriend. Come on, let's party." Sophia didn't really like night parties, but despite that, she agreed. Selena promised her that she wouldn't match her up with anyone else, as she had done before. "Put on your short dress," she giggled, rummaging through her bag, "and I'll lend you my heels for tonight. You look stunning in them." Sophia rolled her eyes. "You and your heels again. I walk badly on them, and I dance even worse." "Nothing," parried her friend. "It's not about movement, but about the beauty of your feet." "All right, I'll wear what you told me to wear tonight. Just be aware that I won't be meeting any guys." Selena smiled slyly, hummed, and started to get ready. An hour later, the girls were already in a nightclub with the unremarkable name Orchid. This place was especially popular among students, and young people. Girls were often let in for free. Selena and Sofia today did not have to spend money for entrance. The girls were glad. Of course, on a modest scholarship you can't go wild, and it's a shame to ask your parents. The place was quite noisy and cheerful. The friends ordered themselves a cocktail and found a place by the window behind the bar. "Look, our classmates are here," Selena exclaimed, "and Jacob is with them tonight. He's so cute. All the girls have had a crush on him since freshman year." Selena gave Sofia a sly smile. "Maybe tonight is my chance to have a heart-to-heart with him." But she shook her head. "Honey, we're supposed to leave for your house tomorrow. It's gonna be a while. What's the point of having a relationship now, even if it's possible? When we get there, you'll hook up with Jacob right away." Selena grumbled, but she stood up anyway and headed toward the merry band of students. Sofia was left behind the bar in proud solitude. At first, she watched the dancing companies with interest. The students were celebrating the long-awaited end of the session, so there were a lot of people. In the farthest corner sat a man. He was watching the young people with a bored look. It was on him that Sofia stopped her curious gaze. Strange. What did a grown man find interesting here? Oh, that's right. He came to look at the young girls. Old asshole. The man suddenly met Sofia's gaze. Black as tar eyes were drilling the girl. Sofia abruptly averted her gaze. The man smirked. "Where is Selena? Where did she go?" The girl looked for her friend with her eyes. There she was. The blonde beauty was standing next to Jacob, talking excitedly about something. He listened condescendingly. It was obvious that Jacob didn't care much for Selena's story, but he was only interested in her good looks. Sofia sighed and decided to part with her loneliness and join the noisy company. But she never reached Selena. The road was blocked by that suspicious man with the strange look in his eyes. "Good evening. Am I interrupting?" "Kind." Sofia looked unhappily in the stranger's direction. "Not really, but..." "Fine," smiled the man. "Then allow me to invite you to dance, lovely lady." The DJ, as if at the stranger's request, played a slow track, and all the couples scattered on the dance floor. Sofia saw Selena dragging a surprised Jacob with her. She nodded in agreement, but there was nowhere to go. "Oliver," the man introduced himself, smoothly walking in circles. "Sofia," the girl replied. She kept looking for her friend in the crowd, afraid of losing her. "Congratulations on the end of the session," interrupted the silence Oliver. "I have long since graduated from the university. I teach in the history department. I thought I'd shake things up today. Everyone seems to be out and about." "Ah, you're alone." The man smiled. Sofia looked at him resolutely. How good-looking he was. Masculine features, blonde curls reaching to the neck, athletic figure. And those eyes like tar. You could get stuck in them. He must be 30, or even older. Sofia sighed. "No, don't even think about it. You already have experience with older men. There's nothing in common between you and him. Grown men want a family and kids, and I still have my whole life ahead of me." Sofia nervously bit her lip, hovering in thought. The track ended. Oliver thanked for the dance and offered to sit down in his cozy corner. "I suggest we just have coffee. They make it well here," he said. Sofia agreed. She had to make sure her friend didn't go off the rails and follow Jacob into a fancy night out. "No offense, but your friend is too naive," Oliver grinned. He'd been watching Selena closely the whole time. "There's that. She's like a little kid who believes every guy. If you compliment her, she melts right away. It's probably because Selena grew up without a father, and now she's trying to feel a man's affection and love from men she doesn't know. It's all sad." Sofia sipped from a cup of coffee. The drink was delicious and fragrant. It was the kind of coffee she drank only at home, when her father made it with foam and added cinnamon to the cup. The memories made her a little dizzy. Her parents were a little upset when they heard from their daughter that she wasn't coming to visit them for the summer vacation. Sofia talked her mother down, telling her that it would be fine and Selena's parents would look after her. Such a strong argument calmed her father and mother down a bit. The girl closed her eyes. There was only a little bit left, and she would see the sea. "I'm leaving in a few hours," Sophia interrupted the awkward silence with Selena to Chicago. I hope that when I return, we will continue our acquaintance, and maybe it will develop into a lasting friendship. Oliver, can I use your first name? Sure. I'm not too old to be reprimanded by you, Sophia. It's a shame you're leaving. I was hoping to spend the night with you. Oliver hesitated. Well, not in the way you think. Sophia laughed heartily. Sitting in a club with a grown man who wasn't hinting at anything like that was a thing. I would never have thought of such a thing. So you're not seeing anyone? Oliver asked. He had finished his coffee and was staring at Sophia. I was in a relationship with a man 10 years older than me. He was like you. At first, everything was fine. Flowers, meetings, walks. Then he started urging me to marry him. He said I should have a family soon, have children. I knew perfectly well that it was not going to happen. I am still so young and not ready for such a step. I want to live. I want to find my favorite job, to travel. You separated from him? Yes. I swore to myself I'd never fall in love with a grown man again. Still, the age difference is very noticeable. Different desires, different goals. Well, Oliver thought, not all men are like that. Like me, for example. I haven't had a girlfriend in a long time. You know why? I'm not as rich as the female audience needs me to be. Sophia gazed out into the crowd. Selena was nowhere to be found. Listen, I need to step away for a minute. I'll come with you. Oliver stood up resolutely. Sophia walked out of the club and looked around. Selena looked like she'd fallen through the cracks. Just what she needed. She was in trouble again. Selena, indeed, often because of her soft and trusting character, fell on the hook of people who wanted to use her. Guys swore that they were in love, but in fact, just wanted to spend the night with her. Friends rubbed in the trust and then spread rumors and told the girl secrets. Selena grieved, angry with herself, but then, after a while, she'd fall back on the old rake. Where could she be? Sophia asked herself in horror. She decided to go around the club. Oliver followed her. Something was puffing and moaning in the thick bushes to the left of the building. Sophia and Oliver walked closer. In the pale moonlight, a white hair glistened in the pale light. Selena, you, yelled Sophia and rushed toward the bushes. It was indeed her friend. But what had happened to her? Her dress was tattered. The style on her head now looked more like a nest, and there were scratches on her body. What? What happened? Sophia gasped. Who did this to you? Jacob? Selena sobbed and covered her face with her hands. Oliver froze beside her, not knowing what to do. That asshole decided to have sex with me right here in the bushes. Well, I figured it out, that he was just like everybody else. I scratched him all over his face. Don't worry, he didn't do anything bad to me. It was the branches that tore my dress. By the way, did you know Jacob has a girlfriend? Oh, if I had seen her. I'd kill her and him. He didn't hit you. Is there any way to catch up with him? Oliver asked. Selena shrieked and stood up. I know you. You teach at the university. I can't remember which subject. History, the man smiled. That's right. Selena took a twig out of her hair and threw it angrily into the darkness. I was told by the girls in the history department that Apollo was their lecturer. So you two are together. Selena looked at them with undisguised curiosity. She wasn't paying attention to her pathetic appearance anymore. No, of course not, Sophia blurted out. Oliver and I only met an hour ago. What do you take me for? Chill out, girlfriend. Selena winked at her. I'm mistaken. So what did we do now? Security won't let me into the orchid like this. Oliver hesitated. Sophia was embarrassed too. Selena smiled and said, Okay, I'm going home to our place now. I'll get cleaned up and get our suitcases. Sophia opened her mouth contradictorily, but her friend interrupted her. I'll take a cab to the train station. I'll wait for you there. The girl turned around and headed towards the streetcar stop. Sophia looked at Oliver, who was whistling casually. Take my jacket. You must be cold in your light dress. Sophia nodded, only now realizing that her legs were swollen and numb, and she had a slight chill. She thanked Oliver for the jacket and asked, Will you walk me home? There was no point in walking in stilettos at night. My feet hurt like hell. Are you sure you want to go home? The man asked her point blank. I live not far from here. Come to my place, I'll warm you up. You'll have some tea. We'll have a heart-to-heart talk. I don't understand what you find in me. The girl raised her eyebrows in surprise. Frankly, I don't understand it myself, but I want to spend the last hours with you. Don't worry, I'm not trying to get you into bed. It's just that. Oliver clearly didn't know how to finish his speech. All right, Sophia replied. Anyway, the last streetcar had left, and there was no way to get a cab right now. Let's go. No tricks. I promise. The man smiled. The house where Oliver lived was on the next street over. The apartment was spacious, furnished with antique furniture. Wow, the girl was surprised. So you're a descendant of the rich? More like antique lovers. I don't know exactly who my parents were. I got this apartment from my grandmother. She died 3 years ago. My parents died when I was a baby. All these years I was brought up by my grandparents. May they rest in peace. I'm sorry, the girl said timidly. It's all right, you can't know everything. How about some tea? Oliver smiled. Sophia nodded, and they went to the kitchen. As they sipped the flavored drink, Sophia stole a glance at Oliver. His face was still untouched by old age with very few wrinkles, mostly in the corners of his eyes. That means he smiles a lot. His hair is thick and luxurious. You'd be afraid to look into his eyes and drown forever. Sophia, I don't want to scare you, but you're so beautiful. Inside and out. You know, I've never met a girl like you before. I hope you don't come from Chicago and get stolen by a native. I really wish you and I could hang out more. Sophia finished his tea and took a comfortable pose in the soft chair. Oliver, I can't promise anything. I've already told you everything. I'm afraid of people like you. Oliver looked straight into Sophia's eyes. They reflected great sympathy and something else. But what? The girl couldn't tell herself. They sat there for a few more hours talking about life, love, and philosophy. It was necessary to go to the station. Selena had probably already left the house. Oliver called a cab and asked to escort the girl to the station. She agreed. They spent the whole trip in silence, not saying a word to each other. Selena was already waiting for them in the waiting room. She happily hugged her friend and exclaimed, "Well, lovebirds, I thought you would oversleep or change your mind about going. How can you break up with such a handsome man?" "Calm down, you're thinking about it all wrong." Sophia shushed her and blushed thickly. Sophia exchanged a phone number with Oliver. She emphasized that they would only call each other for friendly conversations and nothing more. All Oliver had to do was agree to those terms. But it was obvious from the man that he wanted more. Not now, but later, when Sophia wanted it. "Well, everyone, it's time to go in," Selena hurried. The train had already given its third horn, and the farewellers were hurrying to say goodbye. Sophia looked around the platform. "Well, big city, see you later. I'll be back, full of energy. I'll call you sometimes, and I'll hope to see you when you get back," Oliver said stubbornly. Sophia nodded. The man kissed her decisively on the cheek, turned and walked away quickly. The conductor shouted something to the frozen girl, and Sophia entered the car on autopilot. Selena was already in the compartment. She took out sandwiches from the bag and devoured them with appetite. Sophia was in no hurry to join her. She sat down on the edge of the bed and thought, "He's a strange one, this Oliver. I want to believe him and I don't. And that kiss, what if it means more than just a simple goodbye? Well, I'll deal with that when I get there. I'll leave all my sad thoughts on the platform." "Why do you have a crush on him?" Selena snorted. She had already eaten breakfast and started to organize her things. "Don't worry, you need to rest now. Then we'll go back to school and you'll figure it out. Think of the beach, the sea." Sophia remembered where they were going and blissfully stretched her lips in a smile. Soon she would be sunbathing, walking among pistachio groves and enjoying the view of snow-capped mountains. Hurry up and get there. The resort town met the best friends with shining sun and incredible heat. "We should get in the water soon." Selena stretched out, fanning herself as the train pulled into the station. The carriage puffed, groaned, and clanked its wheels. Through the window, the girl saw a crowd of people, straw hats, a colorful rainbow dresses, shorts, and t-shirts. "Here are my ancestors. Come on, hurry, to the exit," suddenly sharply yelled Selena. She frantically waved her hands to a woman and a man of intelligent appearance. Those two were smiling happily back. The girls picked up their modest luggage and headed for the exit. The crowd of people with swarthy skin and black hair were shouting loudly. The man who was in the same carriage with the girls got out first and rushed into the arms of the fattest woman. She was screaming with joy and shouting something in an incomprehensible language. Armenians, Selena grimaced. They are always so loud and insolent. You'll see them in all their glory. The main thing is not to fall for one of the black-eyed ones. They love to bait tourists and take advantage of their bodies. So listen to me and only me. I wasn't going to look at them, Sophia moaned. I just want to change, take a shower and rest. Selena patted her friend on the shoulder and they left the carriage. The city unfolded in all its glory. Sophia saw a haze in the distance and beyond it, tall mountains. They were covered in a thick layer of snow. Cypresses, acacias, firs. Everyone quickly loaded into the luxury foreign car. Selena's father turned on the air conditioner, and the girls were able to take a little break from the heat on the way home. Selena's parents' house resembled the kind of building Sophia had often seen when visiting Marinist galleries. The Venetian-style roof, the perfectly white walls, the small courtyard was immersed in twilight, and the dense thickets of wine grapes were the culprit. The grapes were still green, but Sophia closed her eyes and imagined them getting heavier and heavier. The grapes must be very fragrant. Take your friend to your room, she is very pale. Let her sleep and rest, said Ariana, while you and I talk and set the table for dinner. Daughter, I've missed you so much. Mommy, I missed you too. Wow, you renovated the house and didn't tell me about it. Selena admiringly looked at the ceiling and walls, sparkling with newness and freshness. Sophia touched her head to the pillow. It smelled of flowers and something else that resembled spices. Her head hummed slightly. It seemed to her that she could hear the sounds of the surf very close by. She fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. Wake up, sleepyhead. Someone shouted loudly in Sophia's ear. You'll sleep through the most interesting things. Get up, I said. Selena shook Sophia. It turned out that she had slept for a little less than a day. Sophia quickly jumped up on the bed and rubbed her sleepy eyes. What time is it? Better, ask what day. You snored all day and all night. Get up, we're waiting for you at breakfast. Her friend ran out of the bedroom. Her quick footsteps were heard on the stairs, then a loud voice in the dining room. Yeah, she's come to rest and relax, and in fact, to laze around. No, God, get up. Sophia couldn't find her suitcase. The girl looked in a small closet compartment. Turns out, caring friend has already hung her things. What to wear? A light tunic of soft cream color and the same light pants. Sophia had bought these clothes before the trip. Putting on fluffy slippers, the girl quickly went down the spiral staircase. The smell of pancakes and meat hit her nose. My goodness, I thought you were going to sleep in today too, baby girl. Tired, my girl's exhausted. Ariana cooed and hurried to put more meat and pancakes on Sophia's plate. Selena had already eaten and was watching her friend with interest. The sea air has that effect on her mother. She's never seen the sea in her life. Really? Michael looked at Sophia with interest. Really, he replied quietly. Sophia glanced around the dining room. The room was very bright in azure and creamy white colors. Ariana has very elegant taste. Breakfast turned out to be very appetizing. The girls hurriedly finished eating and began to get ready for the beach. Put on a swimsuit at once. You can put a dress on top, because on the beach local men are not shy to look in the dressing room, advised her friend. Sophia put on her swimsuit and took a critical look at herself in the mirror. Too thin and pale. It will all be fixed soon. On top of the girl put on a spacious and light dress, on her feet summer flip-flops. Beauty unearthly, appreciated her friend. Let's go. We are not going to the beach alone. My school friends will join us. Oh, Sophia stretched out. I'm not quite ready. Relax. Selena hugged her. My hair, I won't let you get hurt. The girls laughed, said goodbye to Selena's parents, and hurried to the beach. It was a long walk, but Sophia did not complain. She enjoyed breathing in the smell of pine needles and flowers. People here were different, smiling, friendly, happy. Not at all like the ones Sophia had seen in the metropolis. The girls passed the local vegetable market, and Sophia saw several dark-haired and dark-eyed men with long, tarry beards. They, upon seeing the pale-skinned girl, assessed her merits, expressing themselves indecently loudly. One of them made an obscene gesture toward the girls and laughed. Selena whispered quietly to Sophia, "Don't mind them. The Armenians, though cute in appearance, are very ill-mannered. Silently walk past them and don't react in any way. Your reaction will make them even more angry." Sophia wanted to turn around and throw something offensive at the men, but Selena talked her out of it. Sophia was a stranger here. A lot of things were unclear. Suddenly, a cell phone vibrated in her pocket. Sophia looked at the screen. Oliver was calling. "Pick up the phone already," Selena muttered. "Your love is worried." Sophia looked at her friend with a murderous look and pressed the button. "Hello, Sophia. How was your trip?" The voice on the phone sounded intermittent. Apparently, communication here is not at the highest level, even though it's a resort town. "Hi, I'm fine. Going with a friend to the sea." "Cool. Can you turn on the video?" "Why?" The girl's confused. "Why is Oliver so clingy?" "I want to see the city. Can you give me a couple minutes of the tour?" "Okay." Sophia sighed and turned on the video link. On the screen, she saw Oliver's face. He was sleepy and disheveled. "Wow, it's hot out there," he smiled. "You look so beautiful in that outfit." "Oh, well, hello there, Selena's friend. What's your name at least, Modest?" A tall guy stood in front of the girl. Sophia lifted her head incredulously and rounded her mouth. Dark, like brown bread, his face. Muscular torso, strong arms. The guy was shirtless. Sophia blushed and lowered her head. She had never been so timid before. "Carlo, stop messing with her. She has a boyfriend." Selena pulled away from the guy and crossed her arms over her chest. "Really? I'm not giving her to you." "Who's gonna ask you?" Carlo childishly showed his tongue to Selena and turned to Sophia. "Don't listen to her gossip. Selena is not yet used to the fact that I can pay attention to such pretty girls besides her." He chuckled, satisfied with his tirade. Selena clenched her fists and blushed, but Sophia beat her to it. "Would you stop it already? I arrived yesterday and we haven't bathed once. You are not ashamed to swear now." Carlo elegantly gave his hand to Sophia and offered to be the first to go to the beach. The company giggled. Everyone headed towards the sound of the surf in a friendly manner. This was it. Sophia had pictured it just like this. Except that the color of the water was very strange. At depth dark blue, closer to the shore azure, and on the horizon shrouded in an unknown haze. "What a beauty," the girl could only say. She tasted the water with her foot. "Refreshing. It begs to be waded in." "Shall we go for a swim?" Carlo asked her with a sly look. His facial features were magnificent. Sophia, despite this strange acquaintance, wanted to know more about him. "Let's go," she began timidly, "only I cannot swim at all." "That's okay," laughed the boy. "You'll learn quickly here. Climb on my shoulders. I'll be your lifeguard. Be careful with him." Selena warned him sternly. Her gaze was wary and worried. Sophia nodded, took off her dress, leaving her in a bathing suit. Carlo whistled. "What a figure!" His eyes glistened. Sophia tried not to pay attention to his speech. She bravely climbed onto his swarthy shoulders and wrapped her arms around Carlo's neck. "Just don't leave me alone in the water," she asked. "If you kiss me, I won't," he chuckled, and they merged into the azure water. Selena watched the couple anxiously from the shore. "Are you worried that he's flirting with your friend?" Angelica asked. "He'll take her and leave her. You know our Carlo slept with half the city." Selena sighed. "To hell with him. The main thing is that he doesn't drag Sophia down to the bottom, literally and figuratively." Meanwhile, Carlo and Sophia had swam far enough from the shore. The water beneath their feet had darkened. Sophia asked the boy anxiously, "No, I'm coming here tomorrow." "You're really out of your mind. I won't let you be with him. He's crazy. You don't get to decide what I do. You're annoying." Selena fell silent and stared dumbfounded at Sophia's face. "Oh yeah, so my words mean nothing to you? Well, then find your way to my house yourself. I didn't expect this from you." Selena turned on her heels and walked down the road with a quick step. Sophia took a deep breath in and out. So, what was it? Her first serious fight with her friend. Just what was missing? They were so eager to rest together, to gain strength before the new school year. The cell phone vibrated again. "How are you, daughter?" Mom's voice was playfully cheerful. "Mom, everything is fine. I swam in the sea today for the first time. It's beautiful. I'm glad you're happy. Take me more pictures from your vacation. I want to admire my beauty." Sophia chatted some more and turned off her cell phone. Only now she realized that it was pitch black all around, and she was absolutely alone, standing on the road. The girl sighed and went where Selena had gone. But there was a fork in the road ahead. Which way to go? "What? Your Selena left you?" Sophia jumped on the spot out of surprise. "Carlo, what's he doing here? Or was he following her?" "I told you, she's a bitch, not a friend," the guy cooed peacefully. "Come on, I'll walk you out. I know where she lives." "Why does she talk about you like that?" "There must be a reason," Sophia asked Carlo as they walked down the cypress alley. "A long time ago, back in graduate school, we dated," the guy started. "Well, I cheated on her once. Out of Selena provoking me, telling me she was dating a guy from a parallel class. That's it. When she found out about the affair, she told every dog in Chicago. That's our love story. I'm not a bad guy, if you don't piss me off." "She and I had a fight," Sophia said quietly, "because she wanted to go to another cove with me tomorrow, and I said I wanted to learn to swim with you here. She must have turned blue with anger," laughed Carlo. "You're a smart girl. You cheered me up." "I'm not kidding. I really wanted to come here tomorrow." "You did?" "Yes." "Awesome." Carlo smiled. "Aren't you scared?" "This is your house?" Sophia was stunned. "Yes, or rather my parents. I live separately. I stopped for a minute to get the keys to my place. Wait for me here." "Okay," replied the girl. She looked at the yard with interest. Trimmed bushes, well-maintained lawn. The windows of the house were shining. Carlo came out a few minutes later. "Do your parents know I'm going to live with you?" "Why would they know?" Carlo asked in surprise. "They'll take my apartment away from me. I'm not allowed to have girls in my house. Consider yourself very lucky." "What if they find out?" "Then we'll see." The guy brushed her off like a pesky fly. They got on the moped again and drove off. This time, the road was long. Sophia was even a little cold. Her phone vibrated all the way, but she couldn't get it out of her pocket. Only when they stopped in front of a blocky 5-story building, the girl was able to see who was calling her. Strange, an unfamiliar number. "Give up your cell phone. Who's calling you?" "I don't know. I'll call you back now," Sophia said. She dialed the number. It was picked up quickly. "Sophia, where the hell are you?" "Ariana, Selena, and I are worried. We were thinking of calling the police department." "Who are you with?" "Michael." Sophia was thinking chaotically about what to say, but a voice interrupted her. "We called your parents. They're worried too. Come home quickly. Or should I pick you up?" "No," Sophia answered quickly. "I'm perfectly fine. I'm staying with Selena's friend. She and I had a little fight." "At Jenka Komarov's? Don't you dare spend the night at his place. He's a guy with a bad reputation. He'll ruin your whole life. Stop fooling around, Sophia. We're responsible for you." Sophia quickly hung up and turned off her cell phone. Really, she is nothing to them, just a friend of her daughter. She herself has the right to decide what to do. And Sophia decided to talk to her parents tomorrow morning. Carlo suddenly picked her up from behind. "Oops, gotcha. Let's go home. I'm starving. Let's make dinner." Cargo's apartment was very bright and spacious, but things were in disarray. Crumpled t-shirts on the floor, a mountain of unwashed dishes in the sink. "Don't mind me, it's just a creative mess." "Yeah, that's what you call it," the girl said. She rolled up her sleeves and began to wash the plates. "Drop it," said Carlo. "I've got plenty of clean dishes. We'll use them tonight." He took a slice of ham out of the fridge, cut the bread and put the kettle on. "Yes," Sophia left. "Do you realize, stupid, that he's going to play a cruel joke on you? I'm worried about you." "Honey," Sophia tried to reassure her, "I'm fine with him. I've never felt this good with any guy. You have no idea. You realize that in 24 hours, just 24 hours? I can't help it." "Okay," Selena interrupted her. "I'm not going to pull you out of this quagmire anymore, but know that I tried. Carlo is a very calculating man. He didn't hook up with you for nothing. That means he wants something from you. He'll take advantage of you and leave you." "How can you say that?" Her friend was obviously in a bad mood. Sophia put the phone down, decisively got out of bed, and went to the kitchen. Hunger won. Meanwhile, Carlo Komarov, comfortably seated in a soft sofa, sipped hot tea at his parents' mansion. "Well, who is it this time?" slyly sneered the woman. "You promised that you would find a normal girl from a decent family. And who is your Sophia? Maybe she's a thief or a charlatan, and you want to marry her. Mom, believe me, she's the one. A trusting creature who will never realize we're setting her up. It's all about getting Grandpa's property. He wants me to stop living my normal life and start a family. That's what he's gonna get. Carlo, I'm betting you. Don't tell her anything. Let her think it's a real idyll. My father and I will do everything we can to make it a glamorous wedding and make sure the girl gets pregnant as soon as possible. I mean Grandpa, need grandchildren. Don't let me down. He doesn't have long to live. Hurry up." Carlo hugged his mother gently. "Don't worry, Mommy. You know I'm a great actor, and I can love on the side. Memories. It would be good if there was a means with which to cut out of memory all that prevents you from living and feeling real. I wonder if he ever truly loved me, or is it just a habit? I want to believe it wasn't for nothing. Our son won't survive our cheating." Sophia finished the last line and slammed the diary noisily shut. Frankly, she didn't remember herself being happy with Carlo for the past few years. At first, when they had just met, the girl had loved her chosen one, though her friends and parents were against her choice. It seemed that such an attitude of relatives only inflamed Sophia. A few months after the noisy wedding, she learned that she was carrying a child. But no one except Carlo was not happy about this news. Her husband's mother, Elizabeth, only shook her head satisfactorily. But Sophia was happy. She even stopped noticing that her husband often disappears late. He said that it work delayed. Unfortunately, the first pregnancy ended in a miscarriage. But Sophia was not discouraged. She'll give birth again. When her son Jack was born, the girl forgot about her husband. Her main happiness was a child, which she carried for 9 months, who waited. Carlo was not very eager to help Sophia in the upbringing of the baby. He said that when Jack grew up a little, then the father would start teaching his son the rules of manhood. That sounded ridiculous. That when he's a little older and rules of manhood thing. A son always needs a parent, even when he can't coordinate his movements yet. But Sophia stubbornly kept silent and gave herself and all her free time to Jack. Carlo, meanwhile, kept waiting for his grandfather to give his soul to God and his grandson to inherit and his mother not to be thrown out on the street. The whole ill-fated plan remained a secret. Sophia did not even realize that she was deceived, led around the finger. One day, Carlo came home drunk. It was the first time in all 5 years of marriage when her husband was in such a state. Sophia was scared out of her mind. "What's wrong, honey? Why are you like this? Is there a problem at work?" Yeah, her husband could barely move his tongue. He threw his coat on the floor with force and started to take off his shoes, but he wasn't very good at it. "My biggest problem is my grandfather, who can't seem to die. I thought he dropped dead when we got married. But no way. His equine health and tenacious will to live are winning out over my patience. I'm so sick of it. These lies." Carlo sank down on the bollard and lowered his head. "Wife," he grumbled, "help me take off this stupid shoe." Sophia rushed to help her drunken husband, but he pulled his foot off and laughed. "Do you even know why I'm with you? Why I knocked you up? You think it was for love?" Sophia froze with the dirty shoe in her hand. It felt like every nerve in her body was tense as a string. It was hard to breathe. "No, you'd better not say it," whimpered somewhere in the region of her heart. But Carlo was already snoring heavily, slumped against the wall in the hallway. Sophia couldn't drag her husband to the bed. She lowered him to the floor and covered him with a plaid. But the thoughts wouldn't let her go. Sophia sighed and dialed a long-forgotten number. It took a long time to ring. The woman was tired of waiting, and she wanted to hang up, but did not have time. "Hello, friend." Her voice sounded hoarse and inaudible. "Selena, I'm sorry I'm so late. I wanted to talk to you." "I'm all ears," my friend stretched ironically. "How was Chicago? Are you glad you stayed?" "I stayed to teach at our university, by the way. I'm having a blast, honestly. How's the hubby? He hasn't run away yet? Selena, stop it. I just wanted to ask you, what do you know about wife? You gave me a hint, but I didn't understand your point. You just didn't want to listen to me. Don't make up stories about not understanding anything. Sophia sighed and fell silent. Okay, Selena was the first to break the silence. You asked for it. I didn't want to ruin your happy marriage, well, if you can call it that. But I guess it's time to tell you everything. You're like an innocent lamb. What did you want to tell me? And why are you talking to me like that? Carlo and I are happy. We just had a fight. Yeah, laughed her friend. He's happy? Changing mistresses like a glove. Did you know he found himself a young girl? How do you know that? What kind of gossip? Sophia was stunned. She tried her best to hold back her tears. My mother knows, luckily for you, friend. Who, if not me, will open your eyes to all this filth? Take your son and run away from your husband. He made a deal with his grandfather. This is bullshit, yelled Sophia into the phone. You're just. You'll remember me when your husband throws you out on the street like a piece of junk. My dear, this is not your man. He's stale inside, I told you. Just follow him once. You'll see him tumbling around with someone else while you're changing diapers. There was silence on the phone. Sophia sobbed, face buried in the blanket. She didn't want to believe Selena's words at all. By the way, Sophia, I have good news for you. What else? Sophia sobbed. Another stab in the back by my husband? Do you think I want to listen to you now? Well, you don't have to listen and hang up. Okay, I'm not gonna drag this out. Do you remember Oliver? Yeah, I do. What does he have to do with this? Sophia whispered. She was already in bed. Next to her purred loudly Rocky cat mongrel, which was picked up as a kitten on the seafront Sophia. Carlo, of course, at first resented it, but then he stopped. Tortured kitten turned into a luxurious killer cat, ready to kill with one paw. Rocky always followed his mistress around the apartment and slept only at Sophia's feet. Right now, he was settling down beside his mistress for another quiet hour. Selena spoke quickly. Look, I came from Chicago that summer. Oliver found me almost immediately. He was really worried about why you weren't picking up the phone. I had to tell him the whole truth about you and your resort romance. Anyway, my friend went silent. And, Sophia said idly, stroking the cat's fluffy back, Oliver quit his job and transferred to the pedagogical university. He lives in the same city as you. And I'm pretty sure he's watching you. I call him occasionally. We don't discuss anything about you, but I think he's making plans for you. Sophia, he's gotten so handsome. He's blossomed. I saw his latest pictures on social media. You should meet him. Selena, I have a family and a husband. Why would I go out with Oliver? Husband ate pears, giggled her friend. Okay, I gotta run. Call me as soon as you can. My advice to you is to check your hubby's emails and, if possible, see where he spends his evenings. Okay, bye. Kisses. Sophia hummed up. There's no such thing as that, she said. According to Selena, I was used as a means to an end. In this situation of getting the inheritance, I want that decrepit old man to live as long as possible, if that's true. Nothing. I'll ask him in the morning. When he wakes up, I'll ask him head on. There was a cry in the crib. Jack was thirsty. Sophia rushed over to him. It was a good idea to follow her husband, but how to do it with a baby? When her son fell asleep, Sophia furtively pulled Carlo's cell phone out of her coat pocket. It wouldn't work. Graphic lockout. It's even worse than a regular code where you can fudge the numbers. But it's hopeless. Sophia slipped the phone back into her pocket and lay back on the bed. Her husband was snoring lusciously in the hallway. The tired woman dozed off. She didn't sleep long at all. Through her sleep, Sophia heard someone rumbling in the kitchen. The woman got up, stretched, and hurried to the sound. Carlo, in his outfit from last night, was making a mess in the cabinets. Oh, sweetheart, are you awake? Tell me, where's the first aid kit? He wanted to kiss her on the lips, but Sophia dodged. She folded her arms across her chest and said loudly, It's always been in the bathroom. Honey, don't scream like that. My head is splitting. Carlo wrinkled his nose. Sophia went to the bathroom, took out the right pills, and threw them into a glass of water. There was a pleasant hissing sound. The man jumped on the glass of water and drained it in a flash. Good water. I am, of course, shocked at myself. How could I have gotten so drunk last night? I slept in the hallway. I'm sorry to hear. I didn't mean to. Sophia didn't answer. Carlo again tried to approach her, but the woman pulled him away with her hand. Sophia, what's wrong? What's wrong? Did I do something wrong last night? I can't for the life of me remember. You told me yesterday, Sophia replied sharply, that I'm just a means to an inheritance. That's why you're with me. And that your grandfather was too tenacious. Did you believe that? That's crazy. How could I think of such a thing? My love, I wasn't thinking yesterday. Sophia decided that it was necessary to agree with Carlo's words, to let him know that she really thinks his words are just the ravings of a drunken man. We need to discreetly track where he disappears in the evenings. If Carlo is at work, the woman will put aside all other doubts about the inheritance. Sophia even came up with a cunning plan. Okay, I believe you, my love. She hugged him and kissed him on the lips. He sighed in relief. I wanted to ask you something. Ask whatever you want. I'm so tired of this routine. I'd like to leave Jack at your mother's tonight and go out. And then I'll meet you at work, and we'll go get our son. Tell me, is that a good idea? I need to rest too. Carlo was surprised. You've never asked me to do that before. Are you going out on your own? Well, I wanted to take my headphones with me. Wander around, listen to music, take pictures of nature. You know I love that. Carlo smiled. Sure, only I'll be late for work as usual. You can wait for me at the corner cafe. Don't walk alone in the dark. I'll be worried. Sure, it's a deal. Sophia tried to squeeze out a smile. The baby. He said that when Jack grew up a little, then the father would start teaching his son the rules of manhood. That sounded ridiculous. That when he's a little older and rules of manhood thing. A son always needs a parent, even when he can't coordinate his movements yet. But Sophia stubbornly kept silent and gave herself and all her free time to Jack. Carlo, meanwhile, kept waiting for his grandfather to give his soul to God and his grandson to inherit and his mother not to be thrown out on the street. The whole ill-fated plan remained a secret. Sophia did not even realize that she was deceived, led around the finger. One day, Carlo came home drunk. It was the first time in all 5 years of marriage when her husband was in such a state. Sophia was scared out of her mind. What's wrong, honey? Why are you like this? Is there a problem at work? Yeah, her husband could barely move his tongue. He threw his coat on the floor with force and started to take off his shoes, but he wasn't very good at it. My biggest problem is my grandfather, who can't seem to die. You know, I thought he dropped dead when we got married, but no way. His equine health and tenacious will to live are winning out over my patience. You know, I'm so sick of it. These lies. Carlo sank down on the bollard and lowered his head. Wife, he grumbled, help me take off this stupid shoe. Sophia rushed to help her drunken husband, but he pulled his foot off and laughed. Do you even know why I'm with you? Why I knocked you up? You think it was for love? Sophia froze with the dirty shoe in her hand. It felt like every nerve in her body was tense as a string. It was hard to breathe. No, you better not say it, whimpered somewhere in the region of her heart. But Carlo was already snoring heavily, slumped against the wall in the hallway. Sophia couldn't drag her husband to the bed. She lowered him to the floor and covered him with a plaid. But the thoughts wouldn't let her go. Sophia sighed and dialed the long-forgotten number. It took a long time to ring. The woman was tired of waiting, and she wanted to hang up, but did not have time. Hello, friend. Her voice sounded hoarse and inaudible. Selena, I'm sorry I'm so late. I wanted to talk to you. I'm all ears, my friend stretched ironically. How was Chicago? Are you glad you stayed? I stayed to teach at our university, by the way. I'm having a blast, honestly. How's the hubby? He hasn't run away yet? Selena, stop it. I just wanted to ask you, what do you know about life? You gave me a hint, but I didn't understand your point. You just didn't want to listen to me. Don't make up stories about not understanding anything. Sophia sighed and fell silent. Okay, Selena was the first to break the silence. You asked for it. I didn't want to ruin your happy marriage, well, if you can call it that. But I guess it's time to tell you everything. You're like an innocent lamb. What did you want to tell me? And why are you talking to me like that? Carlo and I are happy. We just had a fight. Yeah, laughed her friend. He's happy. Changing mistresses like a glove. Did you know he found himself a young girl? How do you know that? What kind of gossip? Sophia was stunned. She tried her best to hold back her tears. My mother knows, luckily for you, friend. Who, if not me, will open your eyes to all this filth? Take your son and run away from your husband. He made a deal with his grandfather. This is bullshit, yelled Sophia into the phone. You're just. You'll remember me when your husband throws you out on the street like a piece of junk. My dear, this is not your man. He's stale inside, I told you. Just follow him once. You'll see him tumbling around with someone else while you're changing diapers. There was silence on the phone. Sophia sobbed, face buried in the blanket. She didn't want to believe Selena's words at all. By the way, Sophia, I have good news for you. What else? Sophia sobbed. Another stab in the back by my husband? Do you think I want to listen to you now? Well, you don't have to listen and hang up. Okay, I'm not gonna drag this out. Do you remember Oliver? Yeah, I do. What does he have to do with this? Sophia whispered. She was already in bed. Next to her purred loudly Rocky Cat Mongrel, which was picked up as a kitten on the seafront Sophia. Carlo, of course, at first resented it, but then he stopped. Tortured kitten turned into a luxurious killer cat, ready to kill with one paw. Rocky always followed his mistress around the apartment and slept only at Sophia's feet. Right now, he was settling down beside his mistress for another quiet hour. Selena spoke quickly. Look, I came from Chicago that summer. Oliver found me almost immediately. He was really worried about why you weren't picking up the phone. I had to tell him the whole truth about you and your resort romance. Anyway, my friend went silent. And Sophia said idly, stroking the cat's fluffy back. Oliver quit his job and transferred to the pedagogical university. He lives in the same city as you, and I'm pretty sure if he's watching you. I call him occasionally. We don't discuss anything about you, but I think he's making plans for you. Sophia, he's gotten so handsome. He's blossomed. I saw his latest pictures on social media. You should meet him. Selena, I have a family and a husband. Why would I go out with Oliver? Husband ate pears, giggled her friend. Okay, I gotta run. Call me as soon as you can. My advice to you is to check your hubby's emails and, if possible, see where he spends his evenings. Okay, bye. Kisses. Sophia hung up. There's no such thing as that, she said. According to Selena, I was used as a means to an end. In this situation of getting the inheritance, I want that decrepit old man to live as long as possible, if that's true. Nothing. I'll ask him in the morning. When he wakes up, I'll ask him head on. There was a cry in the crib. Jack was thirsty. Sophia rushed over to him. It was a good idea to follow her husband, but how to do it with the baby? When her son fell asleep, Sophia furtively pulled Carlo's cell phone out of her coat pocket. It wouldn't work. Graphic lockout. It's even worse than a regular code where you can fudge the numbers. But it's hopeless. Sophia slipped the phone back into her pocket and lay back on the bed. Her husband was snoring lusciously in the hallway. The tired woman dozed off. She didn't sleep long at all. Through her sleep, Sophia heard someone rumbling in the kitchen. The woman got up, stretched, and hurried to the sound. Carlo, in his outfit from last night, was making a mess in the cabinets. Oh, sweetheart, are you awake? Tell me, where's the first aid kit? He wanted to kiss her on the lips, but Sophia dodged. She folded her arms across her chest and said loudly, It's always been in the bathroom. Honey, don't scream like that. My head is splitting. Carlo wrinkled his nose. Sophia went to the bathroom, took out the right pills and threw them into a glass of water. There was a pleasant hissing sound. The man jumped on the glass of water and drained it in a flash. Good water. I am, of course, shocked at myself. How could I have gotten so drunk last night? I slept in the hallway. I'm sorry, Hare. I didn't mean to. Sophia didn't answer. Carlo again tried to approach her, but the woman pulled him away with her hand. Sophia, what's wrong? What's wrong? Did I do something wrong last night? I can't for the life of me remember. You told me yesterday, Sophia replied sharply, that I'm just a means to an inheritance. That's why you're with me, and that your grandfather was too tenacious. Did you believe that? That's crazy. How could I think of such a thing? My love, I wasn't thinking yesterday. Sophia decided that it was necessary to agree with Carlo's words, to let him know that she really thinks his words are just the ravings of a drunken man. We need to discreetly track where he disappears in the evenings. If Carlo is at work, the woman will put aside all other doubts about the inheritance. Sophia even came up with a cunning plan. Okay, I believe you, my love. She hugged him and kissed him on the lips. He sighed in relief. I wanted to ask you something. Ask whatever you want. I'm so tired of this routine. I'd like to leave Jack at your mother's tonight and go out. And then I'll meet you at work, and we'll go get our son. Tell me, is that a good idea? I need to rest too. Carlo was surprised. You've never asked me to do that before. Are you going out on your own? Well, I wanted to take my headphones with me, wander around, listen to music, take pictures of nature. You know I love that. Carlo smiled. Sure, only I'll be late for work as usual. You can wait for me at the corner cafe. Don't walk alone in the dark. I'll be worried. Sure, it's a deal. Sophia tried to squeeze out a smile. Then tomorrow I'll take Jack to your mother's? Carlo nodded and kissed Sophia tenderly. But in his eyes, despite the solved problem, there was anxiety and even fear. The next day, as Carlo was getting ready for work, Sophia kissed him and packed breakfast. Her husband tried to be courteous too. He got dressed, said a warm goodbye to his son sleeping in his crib and to Sophia. Love you, my good one, he said. And me, the woman didn't have the tongue to say the word love. Sophia spent the rest of the first half of the day in the usual household chores. She washed laundry, cooked a meal for Pasha, walked with him in the local park. Then, visibly worried, she collected her son and went to her mother-in-law's mansion. Sophia was good at driving, so Carlo bought her a foreign car of the latest model. The car was fast and easy to drive. What's gotten into you, dear? Elizabeth asked her in surprise. She didn't much like it when her daughter-in-law left her a grandson. You know, your son may be cheating on me. As it is, nothing has happened. It's just the same as always. Oh yes, I'm also just an easy way to earn you an inheritance. But all Sophia could manage was to squeeze out some sort of smile and say what she was saying to her husband. Okay, I believe that everyday life kills, but I thought you were taking Carlo for a walk. Is he at work? Yeah, he's awful tired. I'd rather walk by myself tonight. I even brought my camera to capture nature. Beautiful, smiled wryly Elizabeth. Well, go and rest. You will come for Jack together. Sophia nodded. She hurriedly gathered herself and left the house. She hated to look into the eyes of a possible traitor. But today, she would check one of Selena's possible versions, and then it would be possible to draw conclusions. The woman got into the car, looked at herself in the rearview mirror. A tortured face looked back at her. Yes, friend, you need to be cleaned up, Sophia said cheerfully to herself and went to the first beauty salon. 2 hours later, a real beauty came out of the salon. Sophia lightened her hair a little, asked her to curl and style it. The master applied a fashionable daytime makeup. Now it was possible to go out in public. Sophia decided to go to a coffee shop and have an Americano and a cake. Home-cooked food was by far the best way to fill your stomach. But when you're at the stove all day long, sometimes it's better to eat something made by someone else's hands. Sophia inhaled the smell of coffee with pleasure. The establishment bell rang as someone came in. The woman, absorbed in her snack, didn't even notice the new visitor. Sophia. Sophia turned around when she heard the familiar voice. It was Oliver. But what had happened to him? He had turned into a gorgeous, mature man, tastefully dressed, his thinness gone. And that charming smile. Sophia stared dreamily at Oliver and couldn't say a word. You changed a lot. Oliver stood there smiling. His eyes lit up. Sophia, I've finally seen you. What a reunion. You're so beautiful. I got to the salon just in time. If he'd seen me a few hours ago, he wouldn't have said that, she thought. Oliver, sit down and have coffee with me if you're not in a hurry. Even if I were, I'll put things on hold. How are you? How's the son? Husband? I hear you're happy. I have a beautiful miracle growing up, Sophia said. Her eyes sparkled at the mention of Jack. We're doing fine. But it's just lately that something's been wrong. I've been dying to tell someone. I'm the one you can confide in. I'm a tomb, Oliver said cheerfully. He drank the scalding coffee and stared at Sophia. Sophia felt uncomfortable. But let's not talk about me today. Let's talk about you. What are you doing here? Why did you move here? You're not gonna believe this. For you, Oliver said honestly, you never came back. Dropped out of school, didn't finish your degree. Anyway, I realized I couldn't be there alone. I want to be there for you. Sophia lowered her eyes. Life likes to play the relationship game. Oliver was so frank. Do you take pictures? The man asked with interest, eyeing the impressive camera with the huge lens. I like to take pictures too. True, I don't have such modern equipment, but it's decent. I'll admit, I was following you at first. What? Sophia, don't be mad. I love you. But I'm not asking for reciprocity. Just know that you can always come to me if you feel bad, Oliver said quietly. What makes you think I'll feel bad? Sophia asked with interest. Your face is sad. All the time. Like you're not happy about anything. It's the same expression now. But Sophia didn't pay attention to Oliver's words. She was staring out the window of the coffee shop. Carlo, what was he doing here in the middle of the day? The woman visibly tensed. What are you doing? Oliver was surprised. A young creature in a short skirt jumped out of the building across the street and ran up to Carlo. The man gently embraced her and kissed her passionately. No. Sophia, out of surprise, jumped up on the spot and ran out of the coffee shop. But it was too late. Carlo's car sped off toward the center of town. Sophia fell to her knees and burst into tears. She couldn't and wouldn't hide her feelings anymore. Sophia didn't even notice that a worried Oliver ran up to her. What a jerk, the woman sobbed. I didn't even have to follow you. I hate you. She angrily took off her thin stiletto-heeled shoe and threw it after the speeding car. It's over. It was over. All that was left was to find out how long they'd been dating. Take Jack and leave. No. Go home to my parents, in shame, saying they were right. Sophia, calm down. Oliver hugged the girl tightly. Who did you see? My husband, the woman said through her tears. Her body was burning with resentment. I wanted to press my face against the cold asphalt and lie. Was he with someone else? The man asked sympathetically. Aha, with a young girl, sobbed Sophia. How can I live now? Let's go to my house, Oliver suggested. We'll think about what we can do. Don't be so quick to jump the gun. Jack's at your mother-in-law's? Sophia nodded. You'll need to explain yourself to your husband before you decide anything. Leaving just like that while he's having fun in bed with someone else is no respect for yourself. I'm afraid I won't be able to talk to Carlo properly. Oliver hugged the woman again. Strangely enough, Sophia was slowly calming down. Get in the car and tell me the address, she said, wiping away her tears. A beautiful plan for the woman's revenge had already matured in her head. But if she had known how it would turn out, she would never have done it. Sophia loved to drive. And now sitting in the salon with Oliver, she was a little more relaxed. You look great behind the wheel. Confidently, the man complimented her. Sophia smiled at him and sped up. Turn left here and into the courtyard. Okay. Regular blockhouses. Oliver led Sophia to one of the many entrances painted the same green color. This is where I live. Renting an apartment, he explained. Apartments in this neighborhood are expensive. Do you have enough? Oliver was a little offended. Of course I have enough, and more. I'm sorry if I hurt a man's ego. I know, Sophia smiled as they stopped at the front door. Another minute and the woman entered the spacious room. There was a sense of style and glamour everywhere. Indeed, the accommodations were expensive and beautiful. Oliver helped Sophia undress and went into the kitchen. Sophia, do you want tea or coffee? Can I just have water with lemon and ice? Anything for the lady, Oliver shouted. A few minutes later, he came into the living room with a tray full of food. Red caviar sandwiches, salmon, vegetables on porcelain plates. I picked what I could find, Oliver said cheerfully. You're kidding. Sophia didn't believe him. They fell silent. Sophia devoured the food with gusto. The snack was delicious. Oliver watched the woman with interest. Is it good? There's just different sauces everywhere. One sauce on the fish, another on the sandwiches. A good and experienced chef taught me how to make it. Listen, I wish I could be the wife of such an expert cook, Sophia smiled. She remembered how she stood for hours at the stove, preparing another culinary masterpiece for dinner, and her husband came and did not even touch the food. Apparently, the young mistress was feeding. "There's absolutely nothing in your way," Oliver replied seriously. He drew Sophia to him and kissed her directly on the lips. The woman realized that now was the time to act. "And there's nothing in your way," she said, and took off her dress. It didn't take Oliver long. Sophia woke up in the man's strong arms. "Don't tell me you have to leave now," Oliver said. Sophia stretched sweetly, pleased with her condition. This Oliver was not a bad lover either. "But we have to go." "Sorry," she stretched. "I have to pick up Jack and go home to my place." "Are you going to be a good wife and pretend like nothing happened?" Oliver asked, kissing the woman's neck. Sophia dodged him. She smiled at him and kissed him on the lips. Surprisingly, this man was very easy to be with and secure, like being behind a stone wall. "And you don't want to leave. I want to go on." "Don't walk me out, please." Sophia smiled as she got dressed. Oliver was confused. "Tell me, will I see you again?" "I think so. But when, I don't know yet. I'll call you, but don't call me first. Or your cheating boyfriend will see you and make a scene." "Honey, don't make fun of me." Sophia hugged the man, and they stood like that in silence for a few minutes. "Oliver, it's complicated. You see, we have a child together. We need to work this out calmly. It's a deal. But when you do, I'm taking you back to my place. I'm not letting you go again. Just like you let me go. You shouldn't have." Sophia smiled goodbye and walked out onto the landing. Yes, she did it. Avenge her husband for all the cheating. But the cats were scratching at her soul. She felt attracted to Oliver. "We need to take things one step at a time. First with Carlo and his family, and then I'll talk to Oliver," Sophia thought as she got into the car. On the way, she dialed Carlo's phone number. He didn't answer for a long time. Sophia called again. "Oh, my love, how are you? Did you have a good time? Listen, I'm gonna be here a long time. You go get your son. I'll be late. Don't make dinner. Kisses." Sophia hung up the phone without saying a word in reply. The cell phone hit the glass and fell between the seats. "You bastard," the woman said heartily. "What a bastard you are." Elizabeth sat with a disgruntled look in the living room. As Sophia walked into the house, the woman asked sharply, "Well, and where do you go?" "Neither you nor your son. I already have a headache from the antics of your son. He painted on my expensive Italian wallpaper today. He is small," Sophia sneered through her teeth, "and he cannot walk in a string as you like." Elizabeth froze in surprise. "How dare you be rude to me?" she hissed. "You rude wench. You should have found a nicer girl," Sophia shrieked, "for your dark deeds. I know all about your deal with Carlo. This is not human." Elizabeth fell silent and squinted her eyes. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." Sophia stood up and started picking up Jack's scattered toys. "You married me off to your son so that your father would sign over his property to you alone. Tell me, are Jack and I in that will? Or are we gonna get our asses kicked when the old man passes away?" "Oh, honey, you've got it all wrong." Elizabeth tried to block Sophia's way into the bedroom where Jack lay. But Sophia, despite her frailty, pushed the woman with all her strength. She fell back against the wall and groaned, holding her head. "You know, I don't want to be a good wife anymore, especially since I know he cheated on me endlessly. Not even animals are treated like that." Elizabeth gave Sophia a hateful look. "I don't want to see you and your bastard in my house again," she yelled after, turning red with anger. Sophia was carrying a sleeping child in her arms, tears streaming down her cheeks. The woman always tried to restrain herself in front of her husband, not to show her weakness. Carlo had said that whining would not solve the problem, but now Sophia let the tears flow. Putting the baby in the child's car seat, Sophia pondered what she should do next. With horror, the woman realized that now she was all alone. She had to solve her own problems, to get out of this mess that her husband had made. The apartment met Sophia with sullen darkness. The woman carefully moved Jack to the bed and lay down in bed. There was absolutely no desire to sleep. She missed Oliver's strong embrace. It would have helped her right now. She wondered what he was doing right now. Sophia dialed Oliver's number. "Hi. I couldn't resist calling. I'm dying to see you, she admitted. I'm ready to pick you up at any call. The man's voice was so desirable. I didn't sleep with you because I wanted to get back at my husband. It's just, I've been lacking male affection lately. I'm sorry. No way. You have nothing to apologize for. I'm the one who's sorry for taking you to bed the first time we met, the man said quietly. The key in the front door turned, which means the husband's here. I'll call you back. I'm sorry, Sophia said quickly and hung up. Carlo walked into the bedroom. Are you home already? Yes, Sophia said briefly. She wanted to scream, to fight, to throw things, but she restrained herself. Her son was sleeping right next to her. My mother called me. You made a scene at her house. What happened? Let's go to the kitchen, Sophia said. Carlo obediently followed her. Why, didn't your mother say anything? Sophia asked. Well, I did not understand anything. She was screaming so much. I think you'll tell. Carlo put the pot on the stove. I know everything, Carlo. It's over, so you don't have to hide your young girls in the dark anymore. I don't get it. Carlo took his eyes off the turkey and looked at his wife with feigned surprise. Have you taken too many sedatives? I saw you today near the coffee shop. Sophia could not hold back her tears. You kissed a young girl. Where'd you go afterward? To your workplace, I guess. Are you out of your mind? Carlo jumped on her. I was at work. But Sophia was not going to be silent. The words poured out of her like a waterfall. I also know that you married me to get your grandfather's inheritance. Did you? Tell me it's all made up. Carlo silently brewed coffee. He coughed and blurted out, well, if you know everything, then there's nothing to hide. Yes, I married you because I wanted an inheritance. Ah, here's more good news. My grandfather finally died a few hours ago. My mother and I are very happy, but of course, we'll show everyone that we're deeply grieving. This old stump came up with this scheme, seeing that I'm slowly sinking below the plinth. I marry a normal girl. She gives birth to children. Everyone is happy. I get the inheritance. If I can be a good family man until my grandfather's death. And so I did. There's one but. Despite all this, I've always tried to save our marriage. For my son, so that he could have a father and a mother. Our son doesn't need a father like that, Sophia growled. God, I wish he hadn't told the truth. So harsh and shocking. Sophia, I'm sorry for you, but I loved you. Till you started to get a little jaded about how you were spending all your time with your son, and I was getting nothing. I had to cheat. Were you forced to? Or did your manhood rebel? You wanted a younger body? It's all your fault. If you'd given it to me on time, I wouldn't have gone out. I found a beautiful girl who understands me and my desires. But I'm not going to divorce you. We'll live in a harem? Sophia laughed. No, I've thought of everything. I'll rent you and Jack a place, and I'll live here with Casey. Screw you and Casey, Sophia yelled. I couldn't argue anymore. Go somewhere else. Carlo looked at Sophia with an appraising look, took his jacket and slammed the door. There was silence in the apartment. Finally, Sophia loved this silence. When one could think, ponder. Everything was clear. She was being used and was going to continue to be shamelessly used. Rocky, sensing his mistress's sadness, purred loudly at her feet. Sophia picked up her journal, which was always by her side, and began to write thoughtfully. A family psychologist had once advised her to pour out her emotions in this way. Sophia had then lost her first child. My life has been rocked too much. Sometimes I want to get out of this apartment. I wonder how many more of these deceived people live in the world? Why do girls fall for such deceptive beauty? Now I don't want a relationship or love. Everything seems so deceptive. Sophia's thoughts were interrupted by a sharp call. Who can't sleep? Mom called. Daughter, did not wake you up? No, Mommy, I can't sleep at all. Sophia, I can feel in my heart that you're in trouble. Will you tell me? Oh, Mommy. Sophia burst into tears. For the second time that day, she couldn't hold back her tears. What's the matter? Mom? Carl, without another word, Sophia flew into the bedroom and began to pack her suitcases. The main thing was to take all the essentials. Carlo flew into the bedroom. Where are we going? He shouted angrily. Where there is no your mistress. Without turning to her husband, Sophia threw. By the way, I cheated on you too. Remember when I went out alone? Carlo's face took on a scarlet hue. What? You caught a homeless guy under the fence. Get out of my house. You're so stupid. You could have lived happily ever after without poverty. Jack was crying in his crib. And take the bastard with you. If you've been unfaithful, maybe you've got a son too. Carlo forcefully pushed his wife and child out of his apartment and locked the door. Sophia knew what to do next. Holding the screaming child in her arms, the woman ran out of the entryway and caught a cab. Please take me to the address indicated. I'll be paid on the spot. I forgot my wallet, Sophia said, smiling awkwardly. The driver agreed, and in half an hour the woman was standing at the door of Oliver's apartment. When the man opened the door, Sophia literally fell into the hallway. She was in a terrible state. I'm sorry, we have nowhere to go. He wouldn't let us get our things. Oliver gently picked up the baby in his arms. Go to the kitchen, I'll be right there. Sophia nodded and left. Oliver looked at the tortured baby and tried to do something about it. The baby was hungry. We'll feed you now, Hare, Oliver whispered and went to the kitchen to get Sophia. When they had fed Jack, Oliver leaned over the baby and whispered to Sophia, Honey, we need to go back to your apartment. The papers are there. Things aren't important, but the papers are worth taking. Don't worry, I'll go with you, he reassured the woman, looking into her frightened eyes. Sophia sighed in relief and rested her head on Oliver's shoulder. I don't think I'm afraid of anything with you, but you yourself realize that you should not demand from me a serious relationship yet. I can't. I'll wait, Oliver smiled at her, for as long as it takes. Don't go looking for a place to live. Stay here. Later, when we're settled, we'll figure out a place to live. With tenants like these, I can't afford rented accommodation anymore. The man pointed at the sleeping Jack with his eyes. Sophia smiled. She felt good here. An hour later, a car drove up to Carlo Camarad's house. Two people got out of it, a woman and a man. They held hands. Oliver saw Carlo in the window and whistled at him. Stop hiding. Better let the good guy in. Carlo opened the window and looked out. He didn't seem to expect Sophia to be around such a handsome man. Wow, you got yourself a Don Juan. What do you want? Give me my things and documents, Sophia asked. Carlo hid in the bowels of his apartment, then came back with a weighty suitcase. Catch, Alfonso. The suitcase flew from the third floor like a small bomb, but Oliver caught it deftly. The valise contained all of Sophia's meager belongings and a file of papers. I only gave it to you because you helped me get my share. Come back when you've had enough of your beggarly beauty. Carlo yelled at the top of his voice and slammed the window shut. That was it. 5 years of life down the drain, Sophia sighed. Oliver just hugged her, and they walked to the car. Jack was sleeping sweetly in the car. You know, he looks just like you, Oliver smiled, looking at the baby. Thank God he doesn't look like my husband, Sophia muttered, adjusting the rearview mirror. The main thing is that you woke up in time. Otherwise, you'd have had to hang out in your husband's harem, Oliver muttered. No way. Sophia pushed down on the gas pedal. Over my dead body. 3 months had passed since Sophia had left her husband's house and moved into Oliver's apartment. That's how much time the couple had been given to think about whether or not to divorce. After all, Carlo and Sophia had Jack. The woman all this time tried not to think about further fights for the child and for jointly acquired property. The most important thing was that she was ready to start a new relationship. Oliver had proven himself to be a great father and future husband. They liked to talk in the kitchen over a cup of tea while the baby slept in his new crib. Oliver made the crib himself out of wood. So, what do you say about being in a relationship with an older man now? Honey, first of all, you don't look your age. Second of all, now I realized it's a nuance that has no bearing on life. Or maybe I've grown up. Sophia, I'm so glad I gave up and moved here. I don't regret it one bit. Oliver hugged Sophia and said in a whisper, There is a very good man waiting for you outside the door. What do you mean? The woman didn't understand. Go, open it, laughed Oliver. Sophia, burning with curiosity, ran to the front door and opened it with force. On the threshold stood a panting Selena. You, Sophia rushed to hug her friend. I am, she replied cheerfully. Sophia, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy to see you. You can't imagine how I feel when. Okay, let's not talk about the bad stuff, Selena smiled. What was is what was. You tell me better. Is it really all true what my mother told me? That Carlo? Yes, answered Sophia. It's just as you told me. I should have listened to you earlier. You know, I think you should always try things. You don't always have to listen. So forget it. I came to see a happy Sophia, not a smudge. Sophia wiped away her tears and gave her friend another big hug. Even though Sophia had found her true love, the hard road of divorce lay ahead for her and her son. Carlo had changed his mind about his words that Jack wasn't his son. Now he was fervently proving to everyone that his child should be with him. Casey supported Carlo. Sophia looked at her big belly in disgust and thought about what fate awaited the unborn child. One day, the woman decided to meet the lover of her still current husband. Casey had agreed. Sophia sat in a cozy chair in a small restaurant on the waterfront and thought over every word she was about to say to the girl. Maybe she could help Carlo realize that she shouldn't split Jack in half. Hi, Sophia. The girl sank heavily into her chair. Sorry, I'm late. It's like the 9th month and I'm nauseous. Sophia nodded sympathetically. Luckily, she hadn't had to deal with such discomfort when she was pregnant with Jack. I know why you asked me here, smiled Casey. You know, I'm not thrilled about this divorce situation myself. I wish my husband would spend more time with me instead of you and his first son. I'm sorry, it's just a lot to take in. I'll be honest. I know what you mean. I'd feel the same way if I were you. Listen, I have a big favor to ask of you. You have more influence with Janny. Convince him to give it all up. I'll let him see the baby. I just want it to be over sooner. Casey was silent for a minute, staring off into the distance. I think Carlo's going crazy myself. He wasn't like this before. It all started the moment he saw you with that handsome Oliver. Yeah, him. Carlo's possessive. He doesn't like to let things go. You know, when I first met him, I knew I had a wife and kid. I used to shudder when I thought he'd find me. But now it's all gone, and he's like a fool, grabbing the rope and holding on. I'll try to do something, but I can't guarantee it. It's not a good time for me and him either. They say money makes all the difference. No, it doesn't. Rit, tell me, aren't you afraid you'll be in my shoes someday? People like Carlo will never change. Casey sighed heavily. I think about it every day, but I can't help it. I love him more than my life. I love our baby. It's such a strange life. Sophia nodded understandingly. I used to think I'd never date people older than me again, but now I'm behind Oliver like a stone wall. He's always there for me, and there's no need for money or power. You're a very lucky man, darling. Okay, bye. I have to go to the women's health clinic. The women said goodbye warmly. Sophia thought for a moment that everything would be resolved soon. She went home with thoughts of a good outcome of the divorce. On the way home, her cell phone rang. Oh no, it's him again. Yes, Carlo? Is it urgent? We have to meet, he grumbled. I'll be waiting at the coffee shop. Okay, Sophia grumbled and turned the car around. What a day. Carlo was already waiting for her at the table. Sophia dashed past the tables, almost hitting the frightened waiter. Why did you call? Can't you solve this over the phone? It's not something that can be discussed over the phone. You've changed, Carlo said, eyeing the girl with an appraising look. Of course, I'm different now, Sophia replied firmly. The phone rang in her bag. Oliver. Don't touch the phone. Let your suitor wait, Carlo said sullenly. Sophia decided to listen to her ex and put the phone down. Here's the deal. You dump your boyfriend, I'll leave you and Jack alone and see him on the weekends. What? How could you? I'm not gonna leave you alone, you know that. Besides, I'm the founder of my grandfather's business now. And he was a criminal mastermind. So trust me, if you don't agree to my terms, your family and Oliver will suffer. I'll bribe the court too. Jack will be mine, and then trust me, you'll never see him again. Do you understand? Sophia was shaking like a fever. Her heart was pounding in her heels and stubbornly refused to return to its rightful place. I can't. Why are you doing this to me? I can't forgive a woman cheating in marriage. Carlo rubbed his palms. If you just went nowhere, I wouldn't be so angry. I can't let go of this anger. Carlo, you have a fiancé. You have a baby on the way. Please let me go. Us. Enough already. You understand me. I keep my word. Carlo paid for his tea and got up. Live alone. but with a baby, or with a boyfriend, but no baby. Afterwards, you'll still be without a man, so take pity on him and his son." Sophia clenched her fists under the table. Carlo had long gone, but the woman still sat at the table. Only Oliver's call brought her to her senses. When she arrived home, the first thing she did was throw herself into the arms of the dearest man. "You're shaking. What's the matter? Do you have a cold?" "No, honey, I'm fine. I just love you so much. How's Jack?" "He's asleep," Oliver smiled. "I want you so badly," Sophia whispered, "right now." "Honey, me too," whispered Oliver. They didn't sleep that night. Oliver fell into a deep sleep, but Sophia couldn't sleep a wink. She quietly slipped out from under the covers, picked up her cell phone, and dialed Carlo's number. "Hi, so what have you decided?" "I'm in," she said through her tears. "Well, that's great," Carlo exulted. "I'll send you a large sum of money to your account. I've rented an apartment. Your job is to disappear from Oliver's life so that he can't find you. Destroy your SIM card after this conversation. Buy a new one. You remember my number. Just bring your ID and scribble one last note to your husband. Like, 'I'm out of love. Don't look for me,' etc. Got it?" "Yes." "Okay, I'll send you the address of your new apartment. Write it down somewhere. Leave quickly. Don't hesitate. By the way, what did you say to my fiancée last night?" "I just asked her to talk to you, so you wouldn't touch us anymore." Tears rolling down my cheeks. "Oh, you should have. I'm getting a little tired of her. I couldn't help it. Don't whine. No woman has ever left me on her own." Sophia hung up the phone and chaotically began to pack. Half an hour later, she was ready. The sleeping baby was peacefully asleep in the car seat. The woman finished the note and lingered on the sleeping Oliver. "This is all for all of us. I think you'll understand me. I'm sorry." Just a few words, but what they meant. Sophia grabbed her car seat and travel bag and quietly walked out of the apartment. The air outside was cold. A breeze was blowing down. Sophia quickly stowed her things in the trunk and threw the SIM out of her phone. That was it. The end of the story. But what is it? What's that black figure running after the car? Sophia pressed down on the gas pedal. In the rearview mirror, she saw Carlo's terrified face. He was yelling something, but the wind was blowing so hard that it was impossible to make out anything. "What do you want from me?" "I did everything you asked," screamed the girl with all her might. In the backseat, Jack wailed in a frantic manner. It wasn't until a few seconds later that Sophia realized Carlo was screaming at her. "Wake up! Wake up!" The woman woke up with a scream. Sitting next to her was an anxious Oliver. In the crib, her son was sleeping peacefully. "What are you doing, Mother? You were screaming so hard, I thought I'd call an ambulance." "Beloved, you are near," exclaimed Sophia. "Are you really here? Are you real?" "No, I'm a ghost," laughed the man. "What about it? I had to leave. I had to leave you. He wanted to kill you." "Oh, sweetheart, you must have been watching too many horror movies last night." "What about Jack? I was supposed to pick him up and—" "Honey, you were officially divorced yesterday." Carlo agreed to all the terms peacefully. "You must have been nervous." Oliver kissed the woman. Sophia couldn't calm down for long. But the realization that the dream could turn into a reality did not give peace. They were married in early September. The weather was quiet and warm. From the very morning, the house was in a jolly uproar. Everyone wanted the long-awaited holiday to be remembered by the young people for life. Sophia was nervous from the morning. It seemed to her that everything was wrong. She chose the wrong dress. Her shoes were too high. Her waist wasn't as narrow as she would have liked. "You are the most beautiful bride," her mother smiled at her. She adjusted her veil and the ruffles of her dress. "Mom, I keep thinking that our wedding will never happen," Sophia said quietly. "My dear, of course you've been under so much stress all this time. Don't be afraid. There's your fiancé standing there." The mother smiled again, hugged her daughter, and walked out to Oliver. He didn't have parents or relatives to support at the wedding, so Sophia's mother gladly agreed to help the groom. Selena stood in the hall. She was visibly rounded. Sophia hadn't seen her friend in a long time. She had only recently learned that her friend was 7 months pregnant with her best friend from university. Selena picked her fingers sadly at the velvet curtain. "Kicking?" Sophia smiled at her. She nodded with a sigh. He sure does. He's a real big boy. A boy. Listen, why are you stalling? The baby will be born soon. Why doesn't your friend take you to the wedding? Selena waved her hand. He said we have to raise money for the wedding. We better get married quietly. Sophia hugged her. You've lost a lot of weight, my friend said. Are you and Oliver wrestling at night? Sophia rounded her eyes and laughed. Well, it's just from the divorce. I can't seem to get back to my old weight. You know, I love our new house. Oliver had recently purchased a new home in the private sector, a 2-story cozy house. Sophia was over the moon. So much for the loan. Everything can be repaid if you want. It's a nice place, Selena nodded, but it just needs to be fixed up. I'll be there, Sophia said with happy eyes. I'll have plenty of time for that soon. Just don't say anything to Oliver. I took a test yesterday and it was positive. Hurrah! Yelled her friend and rushed to hug Sophia. Why are you yelling? Pregnant? Laughed one of the bridesmaids. Are we having a baby already? Bite your tongue, Selena replied. Sophia smiled at her friend. It was time to go. Sophia's confused father stomped by the entrance to the hall. I had already decided that you had changed your mind. His eyes were laughing. You won't, Dad. Sophia smiled at him, tears welling up in her eyes. Okay, lay off the wetness. Great things await you, my dear. Yes, Daddy. The father gently took his daughter by the hand and led her under the veil. Her groom was waiting for her there. The ceremony. Happy wishes. Banquet. Oliver slowly circled his wife around the dance floor. Tired? Let's get out of here, Oliver suggested. His eyes glittered conspiratorially. Where? What about the guests? They'll know. Were the secrets out? Did you think I was gonna give you all my tricks? Well, I hope so, Sophia laughed. That's not gonna work. Let's run before we're spotted. Sophia drove in the car on the night road. The windows were open and she breathed in the warm, colorful air. The banquet hall and the guests were behind her. Oliver, with a happy face, told her another story about his life and the lives of his friends. Sophia listened with pleasure. Here was another diary finished. She had a mountain of these books. A new one must be started. Sophia stubbornly finished the last lines and thought, what lies ahead of her? Should she continue writing down her thoughts or live a new life without evaluating her actions? The baby in her stomach stirred. It was time for bed. Sophia slowly stroked the written pages and closed the diary. She put the date when the book ended and stared out the window. Then, on their wedding night, Oliver had given her a big gift. He bought a house by the sea. That's where Sophia had confessed she was expecting a child. That's where she was sitting right now, staring into the distance. It's strange. I used to think I'd never see the sea again. I believed that such dreams don't come true. But chance and the desire to find something new helped me. I don't even know what marriage to Carlo brought me. Maybe it was a lesson. He taught me to look not at external beauty, but to pay attention to mental stability. How many times I wanted to leave here, to leave this place, but my love found me. I didn't want to sleep at all. Oliver said my diaries could be made into a memoir. Ridiculous. Who would want to read such nonsense? I wonder, if everyone wrote a diary of their lives, would we be able to read the fates of all the people in their lives? I don't think so. The sea beckoned with its moonlit path. Today it's one thing and tomorrow another. Yesterday it was azure and today it is a little ruffled and angry. It has its own character and mood. Sophia peeked into the tiny bedroom. Jack was sleeping quietly in his crib. The woman stretched and decided to get some sleep after all. Oliver was awake. He was waiting for his wife. I thought you'd run away from the cabin. It's so quiet everywhere, he whispered, afraid to break the blissful silence. I was remembering how we met, how we got married. You need to sleep, love. Stroking my tummy affectionately, Oliver said. Yes, of course I do. I'll ask you one last time. Don't you regret changing your life so drastically? Oliver raised his eyebrows and laughed. You're still asking. I don't regret it one bit. We've been through everything together, my love, hardships and sorrows. We'll get through the past too. You sleep. The dreams don't bother you anymore. No, there was no more dreams. Sophia was already in the strong arms of her husband. Another minute and they fell asleep. Only the sea broke the silence, the silent witness and judge of human life.